Warning! The following podcast includes spicy content. This level of heat may not be intended for all audiences. No, but seriously, it's hot. Like, spicy. I mean, we might chew food for like 10 seconds, but we don't really swear. And it's not actually dirty. We just talk about hot chicken. So if you like it XXX hot, welcome to the Hot Chicks Podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hot Chicks Podcast. I know what you're thinking. I was not anticipating hearing this. I was not anticipating listening to the voice of a man on a podcast titled The Hot Chicks, but that was exactly the point. My name is Alex Tinker. I am also I am one of your co-hosts here at the Hot Chicks Podcast. I'm also another podcaster for a show called Kinder Spirits, where we talk about kindness. But in this episode, we're going to take things in a spicy direction. So in this show, we're going to be renegade foodies, and we are going to dive into Music City's food scene and their namesake food, the Nashville hot chicken. Whether it's a sandwich, whether it's tenders, which we're probably going to cause an argument with my fellow co-host here shortly, or in all honesty, if it's just a baseball team. What? That doesn't make sense. But ladies and gents, before we move forward and answer all of those questions and talk about maybe who has the best, who has our favorites, I'd like to introduce you to my fellow co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gregory Gillespie.
Happy to be here.
Oh, come on. Give me a little bit more than that. I mean, geez, oh, Pete.
We're about to talk about hot chicken. I got plenty to say. They're going to get tired of my voice.
That's okay. They're already tired of mine. So, real quick, Gregory, thank you for doing this. We've been talking about this for, I want to say years, just hot chicken itself.
Sure.
And getting together during Hot Chicken Fest, Hot Chicken Week.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the best in our opinion? You actually have a list.
I have a list. I have a lot of opinions. Been trying hot chicken places since I moved to Nashville. Actually, I remember the very first time I visited Nashville, which would have been probably 2018.
Okay.
I think I went to 4 different places in one day. Well, you know, we can get into that. Prince's, Hattie B's, Biscuit Love, and Party Foul. I got 4 different hot chicken items, which we can talk about, what is hot chicken in a little bit. But to explain me a little bit, I like embracing culture through food. I really embrace, the when in Rome kind of concept. And so when I moved to Nashville, I just was hell-bent to try all the hot chicken. And, I have a list for barbecue in Memphis, for pizza in New York. So wherever I go, I like embracing the cultural food, what is specialized to the area, what it says about the city, what it says about the people. And so it's not necessarily that hot chicken is like my favorite dish in the world, but I've eaten so much of it in Nashville just because I wanted to embrace the city in that way. So it is the cultural dish of the city. It's not barbecue.
No, I'll 1,000% agree with that. And I know that's going to be a hot take as well, but
more of a hot take to people outside of Nashville than in Nashville.
I'll agree with that. I mean, the people here in Nashville, I believe we may actually be the ones who, on the regular, see the effect of the hot chicken scene as opposed to anywhere else in the world. We do and we don't, because you talk to a lot of natives and they're just like, oh yeah, hot chicken, it's, whatever. And they're like, that didn't become that hasn't been around that long. And a lot of them will say that. And it's like, well, that's not true. Prince's is almost 100 years old. But the big wave of hot chicken that is taking the country by storm. And the world.
Yeah.
The world.
It's everywhere. The market is actually saturated by these places. And I don't think they're all going to make it. I'm from Dallas, Fort Worth, and there's a dozen or so of them. And so it's having its moment. It's very iconic right now. And then the people in Nashville are just like, oh yeah, it's hot chicken. It is what it is. They have no idea that the rest of the world is like lining up for 2 hours in Chinatown in LA to go to Howlin' Ray's or anything like that.
Or one of my favorite. I mean, Dave's Hot Chicken started out as a street cart, essentially. You know what I mean?
Did it? I don't know the history behind it. I know it's partially owned by Drake.
Correct, but that's because that was from that involved a tweet and everything like that. We'll get into why I love Dave's Hot Chicken.
I haven't tried it.
Nor have I, and I want to so badly.
You know why I haven't tried it?
Why? Well, I do. And before we dive into that, I don't want to leave everyone hanging on like, why hasn't he tried it? But I do want to kind of hammer out a few things. So Gregory is from Texas.
Right.
You said you came to the city about 2018, correct?
Yeah. No, I moved here in 2018. So I've been here about 5.5 years at this point.
In those 5.5 years, you've seen Nashville pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and post-pandemic. We're recording this episode to kind of carbon date it in the beginning of 2024, right? February is 2024?
Right.
Yeah. There are new hot chicken places opening up all the time.
Right.
And we're going to kind of evaluate them as they come, and sadly, as some of them leave.
It's interesting as to why they would open up in the first place. You know what I mean? When that's a question I am always curious about. It's like, why are you opening this when there's no shortage of this being on the market? So, but some of these places do bring some new ideas to the table.
Some of them are also just chasing euphoric recall, which is, oh, this was way better back in the, back in the day. And you might say, oh, this was so better back. This was so much better back then. And you go back to listen, you go back to enjoy it now, and it just doesn't scratch that, hunger itch that you might have.
Right. Speaking of that, maybe we should talk about our culinary backgrounds.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, great launching point. Why don't you start, Gregory? I'd love to.
So I don't have the resume Alex has. I am a dude that likes food, and if you can cook good, you can eat good. So I have a pizza company, a small batch craft pizza company. Alex helped me out with that a lot in the beginning. It's a pop-up as of right now, and we're the only pizza place in the world that mills their own flour and makes their own cheese. It's called Gaga's Grandma Pies. And that just started as a creative outlet because I actually work in film, moved out here, didn't have a lot of film work, and started making pizza as an outlet. And it's just slowly continued to take over my time. And so I love making things. I love cooking. Just you name it. Like Valentine's Day was a few days ago, and made my girlfriend made poke.
Did you?
Yeah, I hollowed out a pineapple.
Oh, that's
to serve it in the pineapple, and I cooked sushi rice in coconut milk and mixed it up with rice wine vinegar and the hollowed out pineapple to spread it flat on the pineapple and then top it with the poke. And so I just like making things, and so it's not. I don't follow recipes, anything like that. And so that's just my food background, is just experimenting, making things. But put me in a kitchen and I am not a chef by any means, like you.
Well, and I appreciate that, but also you're being very humble about one thing, and I'm going to call you out on that because I need you to give yourself the credit that is due. Gregory is also one of the foremost experts I've ever met on pizza. Okay, not only does he have Gaga's Grandma Pies, but also he has traveled to, honestly, cities across this great nation, just tasting the authenticity of different pizzas in the area. What was the first pizza place in New York?
The first?
The one that you went to that they didn't deliver until pandemic? It was, you could only get it if you waited in line. It was they used the really long spatulas to put them into the oven. Oh, come on. We talked about this for a while. I'm putting them on the spot.
Yeah. I've been to so many in New York because I lived there.
Of course.
I don't know which one matches that description.
Well,
but I love pizza.
I will say you have undersold yourself, brother, because quite frankly, you are one of those few people that if I'm going somewhere for pizza or if I'm going somewhere, he's my point of contact. It takes a lot to match my nerdiness, full transparency. And when it comes to food, when it comes to the minutia of deep dives of how they make, what they use to make any kind of a recipe, I remember we got into an argument. And one thing you'll learn about Gregory and I as we go is we are a little bit of oil and vinegar. We do kind of lay on different sides of opinions, which is honestly why I thought this podcast would be outstanding. Mm-hmm. One thing I will say is we got into an argument about San Marzano tomatoes and the canning process of one brand. I cannot recall what brand it was, but
I can't remember either.
It had to be 4 years ago, right before, like 2019, and it was one of those moments where I looked and I said, if you can get into the paint with me on details like this, I will eat anything that you're making. And that is, he has been a steadfast companion culinarily through this. He mentioned I helped him early on with Gaga's, but this man explained to me the difference of hand cutting the garlic to release the first cut of oils that go into each and every clove. So Gregory, honestly, don't sell yourself short there.
Thank you, Alex.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about one thing you're excited about launching this podcast?
Oh, I'm just excited to be part of the conversation. This is something that excites a lot of people, and people talk to me I have a lot of opinions around food and stuff, and like, you said with pizza, you're going somewhere, you ask me. Friends will do that with a lot of things. Like, hey, I'm going to the city, where should I eat? And a lot of people tell me, oh, I need to do some kind of show or whatever, and to me or review food or whatever. And part of my problem with that is I like talking about things I like. I don't really like talking about things I didn't like that much. You know what I mean? Like, I love gushing about things, but to be a good reviewer, you got to be willing to be critical. And so I love giving recommendations, but So this is just going to be a fun outlet for a lot of the things that I've experienced, and hot chicken's, like I said, a conversation. There's a lot of people that are interested in it, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon, and it's kind of at its peak. Well, we'll see. And so I'm just excited to throw some commentary into that.
I'll tell you, you hit the nail on the head, though. You said, it's very hard to be in a food scene and be in an industry where you might have to give difficult conversations. You might have to give negative conversation, comments, negative topics like, hey, I really didn't like this. I thought this was salty. I run an open mic here in town, and one of the things that one of the coaches that I have has said to me is, if everybody's exceptional, nobody's exceptional.
Right.
And I really feel like that applies here. This is not going to be a moment where we are trying to go through and be food critics and poke holes or give hot takes to get, gasps or jaw-dropping things. That's not why we're doing what we're doing.
This is just a perspective.
It is.
Like, people work hard for their restaurant, for their product, and we all have preferences. And, like, just to get into a really shallow preference of Bolton's uses only dry spice on their hot chicken. And I like the oiled dredge. And
I'm an oil dredge fan myself.
So it's, like, I don't have any issue with Bolton's, you know what I mean? I like Bolton's actually a lot, but just as far as preferences goes, it's not necessarily, it's just, that's what it's going to be based on. It's not going to be about trashing someone else's product. I will say I'm the type of person that, like, I kind of fall into, like, when I eat something, 3 categories of it better be cheap, it better be healthy, or it better be really good. And so I try to structure my diet in that way. You got to eliminate something somewhere. And so if I'm eating hot chicken that I don't love, I can tend to be negative about it, because it's just like, I'm eating something that's not good for me that I'm putting in my body. And so I want to really like it if I'm ingesting that. But otherwise, I completely understand this preference.
And there are going to be people that do not agree with our preferences.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
oh yeah.
Across this table,
I hope they don't.
I honestly,
I hope we start a few fires.
Let's.
No pun intended.
I'm kind of okay if we do light some fires, because there are a few. We were just talking about this before we started. There are a few gatekeepers of organizations that are out there. A few groups where they don't even consider certain classic hot chickens, some arguably the first hot chicken, to be quality hot chicken if it's not, exactly following this specification. And before we jump into that, very high level overview. My name's Alex Tinker. I am a podcaster. I am an MC. I'm a public speaker. I also have a 9-to-5 job where I work with philanthropies. But full transparency, I am a foodie at heart. I got my culinary degree from a small school in Western Pennsylvania. I spent about 10 years in the industry. I worked my way up from a dishwasher all the way up to working in a Forbes 5-star kitchen off the coast of Georgia. I am very proud of that. I did leave the kitchens and the industry to come to Nashville. That is for a different reason entirely, but I'll tell you this much. I have always found, much like Chef Anthony Bourdain taught us, you have to eat where the locals eat what the locals eat, and become a part of the culture through the easiest method, which is the food. In Music City, everybody thinks that it is a bucket of beer at a honky-tonk and playing country music, when in reality, more 90s songs are played nowadays on Broadway than country music is. So this has, if you want to make the argument, been more of a staple in Music City than music has itself. And I know that might light a fire as well, but we're going to go ahead and I'll talk more about my background, but I tend to look at some things from a flavor standpoint, a mouthfeel, I'll say occasionally, consistency standpoint, and also I'm going to also look at the culinary build as well. That's one of the reasons why I mentioned Famous Dave's earlier. They only have two types. You
mean Dave's Hot Chicken?
Is it Dave's? It is. Yeah, Famous Dave's is a barbecue place. I apologize. Dave's Hot Chicken is, thank you for catching me on that. Dave's Hot Chicken it only has tenders and sliders. It's the same piece of chicken, just on a potato bun. That's it.
Is it a potato bun?
I believe so.
I think so. Well, that's good.
It's not brioche. I know that much. But it's looking at that, that's the kicker. All that to be said, I take a look at menu construction, and I know you said, good, cheap, healthy are the ways that you look at this. I've helped build menus. I've helped work in test kitchens. I've helped launch restaurants. I've helped do... I've been in situations where I've had to create specials often and had to create something that everybody will like. It's difficult. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
So if you can find something that hundreds upon thousands, if not millions of people flock to regularly, you got something there. So now it's really kind of like threading the needle on what I prefer best, because in my opinion, I like hot chicken. I get the craving for hot chicken. I'll send a text to Gregory, say, hey, here's where I am. Where's the best one for you? You know what I mean?
So here's the question.
Yeah, hit me.
What is hot chicken?
Gregory, that's a great question. And it is one that is often argued. So what I think we should do is I think we should actually learn about the history of hot chicken. And by doing that, we need to take it over to the Hot Chicks historian, which is Mr. Sam Harrison. So ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Sam Harrison.
The origins of hot chicken in Nashville is a spicy tale with a mix of both myth and history. Some say it was created by accident, and some say it was created with malice in mind. Either way, the one constant fact that remains true through all versions of the origin story is that the Prince family was involved. The accepted legendary anecdote involves the original owner of Prince's Hot Chicken, Thornton Prince III. Supposedly, he was a man with many lady friends who loved a good night out on the town. And that didn't sit too well with his lady at home. One early Sunday morning, as he returned from a night out on the town with unknown parties, he requested breakfast from his girl. Wanting a little payback and a little retribution, she set forth to make his digestive system burn with more red-hot fire than his passion for females. She found every capsicum spice in that kitchen. Might have even gone to the neighbors to borrow whatever kind of peppers they were growing in their garden, too. She was going to light this man up on a Sunday morning and hoped he'd be reminded about what he had done until at least next Thursday. There was one little problem with her plan, though. Thornton Prince III loved her concoction. He'd never had fried chicken like that in his life, but he wanted to have it again. According to legend, he and his brothers took her revenge recipe and started selling it. By the mid-1930s, they had opened their own restaurant called the Barbecue Chicken Shack Cafe. By 1945, it had become known as Prince's Barbecue Chicken, originally located on Jefferson Street and eventually moving downtown to a part of Nashville known as Hell's Half Acre. It got that name in the 1890s because of how many stabbings and shootings occurred there, but yet it was outside of the city limits, so not many laws applied. By the 1950s and 60s, it was certainly included in the city limits and was almost entirely populated by African Americans. Prince's Barbecue Chicken Shack was well known in that community and not very well known outside of it. There was a dedicated group of non-African American hot chicken devotees. So much so, the restaurant had to build a dining room in the back just for white diners. Supposedly, the occasional Opry star would stop by, and there were city officials over the years who loved it too. Still, though, it remained a hidden Nashville culinary gem for a long time. Thornton Prince III passed away, and the restaurant moved through the family a bit until in 1980, his niece, Andre Prince Jeffries, took over and began to build an empire. She dropped barbecue from the name, and in 1988, Prince's Hot Chicken moved to Ewing Drive on the northern outskirts of town. Growth was slow, but people around town started catching on. Then Nashville Mayor Bill Purcell ate at Prince's so often, it became known as City Hall North. He would later help found the Nashville Hot Chicken Festival. Once word got out and the flavor spread, hot chicken burned its way across Nashville, the South, and the entire country.
Thank you, Sam. That was a really good explanation. So it's a really interesting topic because I think Nashville hot chicken is something very specific. I think there's Nashville hot, the flavor, and I think there's Nashville hot chicken, the dish.
The preparation.
Right.
Okay.
And so to talk a little bit about the flavor, it's definitely the oil that has been mixed with cayenne and brown sugar and usually other things. And it's not vinegary like buffalo sauce or anything like that. But the analogy I give to people is buffalo sauce is a flavor, buffalo wings are a dish. So if you were to go to Buffalo, New York, and
just was there, I want to say like just about a year ago. So I'm with you right now. And
a local asked you, "Hey, have you tried buffalo wings?" And you said, "Oh yeah, I got a buffalo chicken sandwich from such and such." They'd look at you and be like, "That's not a buffalo wing. That's not what's cultural. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not the dish." And so, that's why I'm a stickler for definitions. And so to me, Nashville hot chicken is chicken that is on the bone, leg quarter or breast quarter, on top of white bread with pickles on top. That's the dish. Tenders are not hot chicken. Tenders are chicken tenders that have hot chicken flavor on them. They're Nashville hot flavored chicken tenders, just like you throw on buffalo sauce on a chicken tender, it doesn't make it a buffalo wing. And so the reason that's important to me, is that's what's cultural. That's what Prince has built their business on. And pretty sure they didn't even have chicken tenders on their menu until after Hattie B's came around. And it was at the Ewing location. They had them on Tuesdays. And, like on Tuesdays, we'll appease the white folks,
I'll say the Ewing location, for anybody who moved to Nashville or was not around at this point in time, was a location in North Nash.
Northeast. Yeah.
Northeast-ish, yes. And sadly, one night a car went through the front window, front wall of it from the parking lot, and it basically shut down that location, which was the original Prince's location.
Yeah.
I will say this much, full transparency. I had both great and horrible experiences there. So honestly, my euphoric recall will always take me back to the Prince's that is in South on Nolansville.
I see. Interesting. Well,
yes.
We can get more into that on the Princess episode.
Sorry, continue. You're right. Chicken tenders.
I loved the Ewing Princess. I'll just say that. So yeah, I like chicken tenders, but I guess to give some background on how I really came to this conclusion is I was hell-bent of trying all the hot chicken in Nashville and ranking it. And like I said, I have a list. I think it's 25 places long. And so I remember I'd been to a few places. I hadn't lived in Nashville very long. And I remember just starting off with these lists of who's got the best hot chicken. And this place called 1016 was on this list. It's in East Nashville in the 5 Points area. It was like a Cajun kind of bar. And so me and my roommate went there and I ordered the hot chicken. And what came was chicken tenders. And they were really good. But I started thinking, well, this is kind of apples and oranges compared to what I've been eating at these other places that is bone-in chicken. Like, this is a good chicken tender, but is it this? It's it's something that's just completely different. And so I started realizing a lot of places that aren't that serious about their hot chicken have chicken tenders. They don't have bone-in chicken. And so I was like, okay, well, to rank Nashville hot chicken, I'm going to only rank the bone-in stuff because those are like the authentic. Those are like the places that are not just saucing up some chicken tenders on Broadway and calling it hot chicken. And so it takes more time to cook bone-in chicken. It takes more skill. You get the skin. There's a lot of the reasons why I prefer it. But I don't hate on chicken tenders. I mean, Dino's, shout out to Dino's. It's my favorite burger in town, and I usually get some hot chicken tenders to go with the burger.
Also, their fries are just absolutely killer. Dino's fries.
They are good.
They are good.
Special sauce.
That's
Pro tip.
Get the way to go. Sauce. That's the way to go. This is true Nashville.
And we'll talk. We'll have a whole episode on subculture, but
which we will mention several times,
probably.
But that was my true story. That was my first hot chicken in the city.
Really?
I started with subculture.
Well, that's your white whale.
I mean, it's the white whale. So I've been to the top of Everest. You know what I mean?
But it's not like, how do you compare that to Prince's?
It's apples and oranges. You said it best.
And then I started meeting people that would say, "Oh, I tried Prince's. It wasn't that great." And I'd be like, "How could you say that?" And I was like, "Wait a second. You got chicken tenders there, didn't you?" And they're like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And it's because, I don't think that's what they specialize in. They built their business on bone-in fried chicken. And the chicken tenders there sell a lot. But also, I have noticed, because I used to go to a lot of these places with a friend named Ben, and
we may reference him as Hot Chicken Ben.
Yeah, that was his name. He would a lot of times go with tenders, and we would have really different opinions. And then we started both eating bone-in chicken. And then he had a lot more similar opinions. So certain places actually specialize in different things, I think. And so anyway, I'm a bone-in chicken guy. I don't have a problem with chicken tenders, but to me, definition, Nashville hot chicken is chicken on the bone.
Now, with all due respect to Mr. Gregory Gillespie, my co-host over here, I had to check my hat because I have a Sounds hat. That is, the Sounds is the minor league baseball team here in Nashville, and the Nashville Sounds have a couple games out of the year where they turn into the Nashville Hot Chickens, which, to put it lightly, was one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do this.
I love it.
It really kind of caught my attention with the culture and made me want to dig deeper into the impact of hot chicken as a cultural item, not just as a cuisine item. However, Gregory and I severely differ on this point. I do agree. I believe that Prince's began as a thigh, as a leg quarter. I believe the oyster is one of the best pieces of any hot chicken you ever possibly could get. And if it's marinated properly, it's incomparable, which truly, like any good dish, should be. It should be the top tier if it is giving homage to its creator and its creation, like the originality of it. Now, why do I say that? Gregory is only specifically, we have talked about this. We have argued about this outside of this talk. Gregory for the Hot Chicks podcast is only going to get bone-in leg quarter if they have it. If not, we will come up with a replacement.
Breast quarter.
Breast quarter, something along
Sometimes
those lines.
both, maybe.
Something with a bone in, because that is the preparation style. That is the, how did you put it? It's the flavor, and one's the dish.
Oh, yeah, that's the dish.
That's the dish.
Yeah.
The dish is bone in.
The dish is bone-in chicken. Nashville hot is the flavor.
I do, and this is where I know people are not going to like me, because when I go to any of our locations as someone who wants to look at the entirety of the menu, because this is also going to be a point of reference for anybody who comes to the city and wants to know, hey, how is this? How is this? How is this? I am only going to get the tenders. And I'm going to obviously try a piece of bone-in, or I'm going to try something else. But I want to try the tenders at every location with a side of fries and a side of coleslaw. They're the two biggest sellers on any list. I may also get some white beans. I might also get some white onions. I don't know. Whatever is on there. But I want people to be able to know that there is a gauge for, hey, this is really good. You know, oh, he really likes that coleslaw. It's nothing to write home about at this place. The fries are the same here as they are here, but the tenders here are outstanding. The tenders here are outstanding. Additionally, to add a little bit of flavor to this podcast, pun totally intended, is going to be what we call the side chick. Now, Gregory and I have had this conversation about how we're going to move forward with this. At every location, so guys, I'm only going to get the hot preparation.
I'm getting hot too.
I'm not one of those people that wants to go super, super hot. Now there is,
I'm getting hot bone in. You're getting hot tenders.
And we're going to try the hot spice level. Except we're going to get one tender everywhere that we can. The hottest preparation that we possibly can. With Prince's, it comes out looking like it's a piece of charcoal with just the black, and I'm not excited about that one, man. I got to tell you, because that's gonna hurt.
No.
But other places, it's not gonna be wicked hot. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we are going to be testing out the hottest as well. That's going to be our side chick.
Right.
Now, I do want to say, I know that there are a lot of people online. There are a couple groups that I have not actually even been permitted access into because,
Interesting.
Yeah. I've not been permitted access to them on Facebook because of my penchant for, however you want to say it, for tenders in hot chicken. I personally do not care. I don't like gatekeeping, so I'm going to try it because I also want to represent the people that are going to come to visit. And I want people to come experience this everywhere to know, ooh, that's hot. Here's this. We were talking before, we haven't gone anywhere yet, but we were talking to one of the chefs at a place called Lily's. Shout out to Chef Chris Lilly. He was talking to us about the level of capsaicin inside each of the sauces that he uses, and there's a scale, and I really like that. I would like to find a way to try to put all of them on there.
Yeah, because a lot of places will ask, like, well, how hot is hot?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people will ask that the baseline, a lot of people, I think, consider Prince's hot the baseline. And so people can kind of refer to that, but we'd like to help that, and actually tell you how hot is hot.
It's hard because without data,
right,
there's no definition,
and it could depend on the day.
Oh, it very much could.
I fully believe what you get at Bolton's can depend on their mood.
And how busy they are, and what time of day it is.
Yeah.
Bolton's will, if you're not sweating in Bolton's, like,
I'll just say this right now: Bolton's hot is going to be the hottest hot in town. But we can't say that for certain yet. Although I have tried about 25 places, and so I guess I can. Yeah. Yeah. I usually go extra hot at Prince's. I go medium at Bolton's.
And in all honesty, I am, I'm not going to say a wimp because I like my spice, right? I like to keep things spicy, but I very rarely get a level above any standard hot anywhere I go.
Yeah.
What's the one at Subculture? Extra hot. It's just extra hot is the name of the
Stupid hot.
Stupid hot. That's that'll clean out your sinuses for the next 3 weeks.
But that's not the hottest level.
No,
and
it's not.
We can talk about that another time.
I will say this much. We have a lot that's going to go into this. We have a lot of details. We have a lot of topics. Gregory, before we jump, we've covered a lot of ground here. Before we jump, the next time these individuals hear us, we are going to be embarrassing ourselves, talking about the heat index, the where we've been, where we're going. Full transparency. What's the one thing you're the most excited about?
Oh, man, an excuse to eat chicken is pretty exciting. You know, I just an excuse to hang out with you and a friend and eat chicken and talk about it. Because, you know, like when I go to a place, I want to talk about it. And, you know, most people are not that way. Most people, my girlfriend's just like, oh yeah, it was good, you know, but I want to sit there and analyze it, be like, wait a second, you know, why is this so good? Why, you know, and so, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I want to jump, just completely jump on that same thought. I tend to overanalyze a lot of things. My therapist will agree, but I think one of the biggest things that I want to take away from that is, I love being able to dig deep, and I love being able to see influences. And one thing you're gonna hear from me is very much where do they fall on the family tree? Okay. Again, referencing Chef Chris Lilly, he had openly talked about a location called 400 Degrees. Mm-hmm. And honestly, right after that, he said, but I was brought up on Prince's. So that kind of lineage is something that we're going to talk about often. I really think the one thing I'm excited about is that this is going to be a journey that we are taking at risk of ulcers.
You failed to mention earlier that you stopped being a chef because you had a heart attack.
I did.
So now you're doing a hot chicken podcast and eating a bunch of hot chicken. But, you know.
It's all about balance.
God is good.
He is, and I'll tell you this much, I did have to take a step away from the kitchens. One of the biggest things that I found out was that I'm still in love with the kitchens. Mm-hmm. Though you can take the boy out of the kitchen, you can't take the kitchen out of the boy.
Oh yeah,
very much so. I mean,
Alex loves hosting. He loves cooking.
And trust me, now I have a Blackstone flat top, so nobody. Oh yeah,
burger night at your
house.
That's
burger night, fried rice night, dude. I'm pulling a hibachi. Anyway, all that to be said, we're foodies. We are foodies with a flair for fiery foods. And honestly, one of the things that I cannot wait for is to dig deep, find all of the little nuances that we can of the different foods. Most importantly, though, bring you in on this spicy pilgrimage so that you don't have to sit in the dark and so that you don't have to sit trying to figure out what level of spice to get wherever you're going.
We're doing this so you don't have to.
We are sweating in the middle of a farmer's market, eating hot chicken and talking about how our sinuses are cleared.
And potentially waking up in the middle of the night.
Well, it's not a potential. That's a guarantee. Hey, shout out to all of our spouses and siblings or whomever we are in the same room with or staying with. Just good luck. I apologize. But no, full transparency. This is one of those moments where I'm very excited we are going to be able to get to do this. Gregory, any thoughts to close us out?
It's going to be a fun ride.
Let's have some fun. Ladies and gents, this was the first episode of the Hot Chicks podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Get ready next week or next episode. We're going to take our first step with the iconic, the classic, the original Prince's Hot Chicken. Rap, greed, sloth, and pride don't hang me for